So here it is, guys. It is a stormy Sunday, and what better to do than build a PC full of used price performance. Now, before it rains, I'm gonna get on inside and also make something that is just so damn good, because today is something really special. And why is it special? That's because I'm building a used price performance PC with some of the most electrical deals money can buy. And these are some of these one-time deals that I've picked up. So if you guys are looking for a deal that anyone can get over the internet, then I'll put a link up here for a recent build that I did. But today's build is all my best deals from the last few months that I'm putting together to make not only just a gaming PC, but also a whole setup with mouse, keyboard, and monitor included. With that aside, let's go into the studio, check out the parts that we're gonna put into this build and how much I paid for them before I get drenched out here on this stormy Sunday. So here's all these components here on the desk. I'm gonna go through each of them quickly and explain how I got them either so cheap, or in this case, for instance, the mouse and keyboard for free. Now, I won this at a competition at IEM when I guessed some jelly beans in a jar, and I got it right on the correct amount, where I guessed 889, and I was shocked because I've never won anything in my life, so this was the first thing that I won, and I was over the moon. Next up here, we had a GTX 1070, where it's a faulty graphics card that got given to me, and when I was in Taiwan, I took it to the Taiwan Service Repair Center, and they fixed it completely free. I'll put the link to that video up here if you haven't seen it. And then we've got over here a 120 gigabyte SSD. I actually bought this brand new, 28 Aussie dollars, or about 19 USD. Then we've got a 1.5 terabyte hard drive. I got this from the same person that I got this PC right here, which is an i7-4770, and it's also got a cooler, 8 gigabytes of RAM. Then we've got an adapter, and we got this monitor as well, a 22-inch Samsung monitor. Now, these are really good because you can get these for cheap. In the case of this monitor right here, I picked it up for 40 Aussie dollars, or about 28 US dollars, which makes it just phenomenal value for money for getting into 1080p gaming. Now, of course, the 1070 is gonna be able to provide really good frame rates, but the last piece of this puzzle here is this MB520 Cooler Master case. It's got 3 RGB fans at the front, and now how I picked this up was that someone was selling it for 50 Aussie dollars. And I asked them exactly why they were selling it, and they said they were getting an NZXT case. So me picking this thing up for about 34 USD with the RGB bling, the tempered glass, is definitely a bargain on my behalf. Now, tallying up all the parts on the table here, at least what I paid for them, and I know this is not realistic of what you're going to get if you're looking on eBay or over the internet, I paid 174 USD for this whole setup here. And also, if you're in Australia, it comes out to about 252 Aussie dollars. But with that aside, let's put this whole PC together and then clean this whole setup and give it some tech yes lovin', and then check out the performance and what I believe is going to be my best price performance to this date. Now, we're gonna stop and pause on this OEM right here. We've got a legit Windows 10 license included. We've got an i7-4770, a cooler, motherboard, 8 gigabytes of RAM. Now, it had no drives in it, and that's why the person who sold it to me was selling it so cheap. And this is one of those cases of the person not knowing that, in this case, 110 Aussie dollars is pretty much what someone would pay for an i7-4770 alone. So the fact that I'm getting all the extra components in this build included is just an absolute steal. Now, you're not really gonna go find this on the internet, because the moment someone lists something like this for this cheap and they don't know what it's worth, someone else is gonna snap it up in a heartbeat. So I guess a lot of the times with the local deals, it's just about being at the right place at the right time, with, of course, the cash in hand. So here's the build. It is all complete, and the good news is everything is up and running absolutely fine. Now, the magic in this build is coming from the i7-4770, which was a CPU that was released in 2013, has 4 cores, 8 threads, but interestingly enough, this CPU is still actually quite popular and in demand on the used market. It still fetches well over 100 Aussie dollars, or in USD terms, well over 70 USD. And at these prices, it does leave one wondering, why is a 6-year-old CPU commanding such a premium to this date? And it's got to do with 2 major factors. The first being, of course, it carries that i7 moniker, which when people buy a PC and they see i7 in it, they definitely think, oh, this PC is going to be awesome no matter what. The second thing is it actually carries all the latest instruction sets, even including the AVX2, which makes this CPU still in 2019 extremely relevant. But the main question still remains, and that is how well will this setup perform in games with the GTX 1070? We just finished up playing PUBG, and the 1080p Ultra results were pretty impressive. We're getting over 100 average FPS, but the 1% lows were good too. That was 56. However, the 17 of 0.1% low was getting a little bit low, and there was some stuttering at 1650 when I was playing on this particular monitor here, where the 0.1% lows were clearly coming out under 10. And of course, that's that level where it can start to be noticeable and it can affect your performance, especially in a clutch situation. But I hear with PUBG, this is a little bit of a unique outlier since I'm living in Oceania and apparently they've removed these servers. And I noticed when I was trying to get some frags that my bullets just weren't hitting at all. So a little bit of a weird problem with PUBG. I mean, the game is running okay, but also another thing I'm not too sure of with this rig, since the dual channel memory is only at 1333 megahertz, perhaps that could be a problem with this particular title. But we've also overclocked the graphics card too, and the temperatures are good, but we'll talk about that after we run the last benchmark here, which is GTA 5. So there's GTA 5 done, and now funny thing about this versus PUBG is I'm playing in single player mode and the FPS is so incredibly smooth in this title, and it's a CPU intense title just like PUBG is. Apex Legends ran really smooth and so did GTA 5, so I'm going to call PUBG a bit of an outlier in that I believe it has other issues inherent to things like the servers, which is causing the stuttering and causing the game not to play that well. But in terms of the performance and how this rig performed, especially for the money and what I paid for it, we're gonna sit down and talk about this a little bit more in depth. And there it is with the under $200 gaming setup. Now, of course, these prices in this build are unrealistic. You can't really go out and expect to get a free GTX 1070. But of course, over the last 3 months, I've been hustling some really good deals, and some of the time I just get those extraordinary deals that are like outside 3 standard deviations. So this kind of build here today, I'd call it the anomaly setup, because it's not realistic, but at the same time, you guys love it when I put together all these cookie cutter builds, and this one is just the epitome of price performance in terms of what I've done personally. But at the same time, there's some other factors involved with this PC that make it a really good balance. For instance, even though it's only got 8 GB of DDR3, that held up fine in these 3 titles, and that's still with the MSI Afterburner overlay recording all the FPS figures. If there was one thing though I would do to this PC, it'd be to upgrade that 8 GB to 16 GB, which I'll probably do if I'm gonna flip this PC. Also, the GTX 1070, that thing is absolutely fine. It's actually more than fine for 1080p Ultra gaming. I was surprised at how well it's holding up in these titles with just giving really smooth FPS, and especially coupled with that 4770, it's got all the latest instruction sets. Despite it being a CPU that's basically 6 years old, it can still get up and boogie and play games absolutely fine. Now, another thing we didn't talk about is the fact that it's got that onboard HD graphics, which you can then use if you're streaming, for example, or doing other things in Adobe Premiere Pro. So If you got this with 16 gigabytes of RAM, you could double down as a 1080p video editing rig, absolutely no problems. Now, in terms of power consumption, here's another surprising thing. When I overclocked the graphics card, where the core clock was getting around 2.05 gigahertz, and the memory, I got an extra about roughly 500, which I think on NVIDIA is doubled to about an extra gigahertz on the memory, the performance was really good, and the power consumption was only going up to about 270 watts max draw. Or at least that's what I saw on the watt meter when running the Heaven benchmark. Now, the other really good thing about this build is the temperatures too. I saw a maximum on the CPU of 72 degrees, and this is in a 25C ambient environment, and this was while I was playing GTA 5. I also saw the GPU was basically staying under 60 degrees the whole time, which means a couple of things. It means the cooler that Gigabyte have put on this thing is more than fine of keeping this thing under control when it's overclocked, and that was at a static fan speed of 70%, which really didn't give out any noise at all inside this case. And here's another thing that went really well with this build, and that's the Cooler Master case we used here today. Those 3 fans at the front, they're not just for bling, they actually provide really good cooling, especially with that outtake fan. So the 4 fans included on this case, despite it having tempered glass, despite it having an enclosed front, it did have those mesh sides, which were able to draw the air in effectively and keep this whole build very cool in what would be considered mediocre temperatures. But the last thing I wanted to talk about was gaming on 22 and 24-inch monitors. Just like the pro gamers really prefer these sizes of monitors, I think it's actually a really enjoyable experience playing on a smaller monitor. I edited on 32-inch 4K monitors, and when I got back from holidays, because I was overseas editing on 24-inch monitors for Computex, and over in LA I was using a TV, I got back home and I was kind of surprised at just how big 32-inch monitors are. And in fact, I think they're too big for gaming personally. I think they're good for 4K video editing where you got a lot of real estate, especially at 4K. But for gaming, 22 or 24-inch monitors definitely shouldn't be ignored, even if you want the best gaming experience. I know those ultra wides are very tempting, they do command a price premium, but I could really enjoy myself on a smaller monitor, especially coupled with used hardware. And I guess in closing, that's the crux of this whole video, is putting together something really good for price performance, but also appreciating how good that price performance really is, in the fact that I could get this set up here, stop doing 4K video editing, and I could really enjoy myself on something that I've put together here today in this video. And if you've got that friend who's got that high refresh rate 4K monitor he's paid $3,000 for, or you got that other friend who has a 21:9 ultra wide bling monitor, and you're on your 22-inch monitor and they're talking down to you, you can just tell them that Tech Yes sends his regards. Because this sector of the market is booming like it's never been booming before, and I've actually got some inside news for you guys. I was speaking to some analysts and journalists over at LA for the AMD event, and they were telling me some of the articles with used price performance were some of their biggest articles so far in 2019, only being surpassed by that of the Zen 2 announcement, which was really cool to hear. So you guys keep hitting that like button for us, keep repping used price performance in the comments section below. And if you're enjoying the content enough, then you may wish to hit that sub button, click that bell notification, because I got a lot more used price performance coming to your sub boxes in the next few months, so stay tuned for that. But also on that note, let us know in the comments section below, what do you think about monitor sizes and what is your best gaming experience, not just for enjoying the games, but also for competitive play. I find me personally, I actually play the best on a 23-inch monitor, 1080p, when I'm playing competitively, but your mileage may vary. Love reading your thoughts and opinions as always, and I'll catch you in the next tech video very soon. Peace out for now. Bye. Are you gaming at 4K 120 Hz? Like, dude, I'm gaming on a 2012 22-inch Samsung monitor. Get on my level.